controversial subject always is, do I blanket my horse? The answer is no. If you're conditioning show horses and you don't want hair on them and you want a heated barn, that's your business, you do it, but I don't recommend it. And here's why. And you'll hear me say this a lot. Don't question God. He's put things in place for a reason, and He's made these horses where they can take care of themselves naturally if you'll get out of the road and not bother and interfere. So what happens is, if you put the blanket on the horse, he does not naturally grow the hair that he needs to take care of himself in certain conditions. And I don't care if he's in Florida, I don't care if he's in California or in Wisconsin or wherever. He will hair up according to the conditions that he's in. And I've seen that my whole life. I mean, that's how it works. So on occasion, we'll put a blanket on a horse. If we're trailering them somewhere and it's very, very cold, we'll put a blanket on. There again, we've got to make sure the trailer's ventilated, and because the horses will just burn up in those blankets if you're not careful. They'll get sick, they'll get sweaty. I've got a horse in here now that's kind of a gray horse that gets dirty, and so we put a blanket on him just to keep him clean. But we're very careful about it. You know, we don't want him not having hair either. So we've got a very light blanket even though it's cold. But what I'm amazed at is there are days I come out here and it is raining and it is cold and it is wet, and you think to yourself, I can't believe that the horses just all don't die. I mean, the conditions here in Ohio are so rugged sometimes that I don't know how they do it, but they do. I mean, and actually they thrive in the bad weather. But the reason they thrive is I let them take care of themselves, okay? So if you look at this horse, here we are in January, and this is his natural coat, and he's kind of hairy looking. But if you think about the reason for that, there's a lot of good common sense about that these long hairs on the outside of his coat, they wick away moisture like a rain gutter would. And then if I get my finger joist right here, you zoom in right there, and if I go underneath that top layer of hair, there's like an inner fleece hair that's a little fuzzy short hair in there. It's almost like polar fleece, like you'd have on one of your, like my vest here has polar fleece. Well, he has like a polar fleece inner lining that is underneath these longer hairs. And I'll come out here sometimes, and these horses, they've got a beautiful barn to go in. They don't want to go in the barn, they're standing outside. They don't want to stand in their shoulder, they want to stand outside. And they'll have 4 inches of snow on their back. And they're fine with it. And they're just as fluffy and fat and sassy and feeling good like if they were standing in the barn. So I walk out to them when it's wet and cold, and I get my finger and I go underneath that outer layer. The outer layer is wet, but the inner layer is dry. So that's why I don't blanket horses, because when you blanket your horse, it interferes with that natural, God-given, natural, that this horse has evolved through time, through generations, that the ones that couldn't make it through the winter were the ones that didn't grow hair like that. Now, which leads us to another subject. Body clipping, I think, is inhumane. I think it's the worst thing in the world you could do to a horse. It's like me pulling the covers off of you in the middle of the night and you shiver all night long trying to sleep. It's wrong. I see no purpose to it at all whatsoever. It's a fashionable, unrealistic thing that I don't think is right. I've had people come out here and they body clip these horses and they hunter clip them and they do all these different clips. You know what? I've had more horses get sick and have trouble that have been manipulated and handled like that than anything else. And I'll tell you, out of the hundreds and maybe thousands of horses that I've owned in my life, the ones I have troubles with are the ones that have been humanly manipulated by humans, either by their nutrition or by their grooming or by the way they're kept. And if you just learn to stay out of their way and let them take care of themselves, you're going to be so much better off. And I'm just not saying that to say it. I'm saying it out of years and years and years of experience and trial and error. And believe me, I've got a pile of blankets up in my barn here, 3 foot high. I mean, there was a time here we blanketed these horses, and my wife spent days in the laundromat washing those doggone things. You know, it's just not necessary. And I've proven it. So when you ride your horse, he's going to get sweaty. And he's going to get wet with his hair. But that's okay, because that keeps him from getting cold and shivering when he gets sweated. You know, if I don't have hair on this horse and I go out here and work him and he gets all sweaty, I tie him up on the wall and go eat my lunch, and I come back and he's standing there shivering. Well, see, you can't have that. So how we do things here and how we handle a horse, that's most appropriate. If you have show horses and you're doing that kind of stuff, you know what, don't even bother watching my videos probably, because I'm going to tell you a lot of things to do. You probably won't let you win your shows, you know, because you got to have your horse fit in a certain way to do that. And that's just something we're not thinking about here. We want you to have a healthy horse and a usable horse, and we want you to have a relationship with your horse. That's what we want. So, you know, that's my little sermon or rant on blankets, but listen to it and take a little fatherly advice and try it, and I think you'll be happy with your outcome.